Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another video. Today I just want to chat to you guys about Anxious People by Fredrick Backman. I started and finished this book last week and I've just been sat thinking about it for a few days and I just keep thinking about it, so I just decided you all get to know how I feel about it. So let's just start off really positive. What things did I love, did I absolutely adore about this book? And that has to be the characters. Fredrick Backman is an absolute master when it comes to writing characters. Now, I know I've only read 2 of his books, so I can't say definitively that every character he's ever written is just amazing. But of the 2 I've read, I've adored all of his characters. He writes real characters. None of his characters feel like they're saying or doing anything that no one in real life would do. Everything they do and everything they say feels really authentic. I don't know, he's like I say, I've only read 2 books, but he, for me, is a master of character work. I feel like with every single one of his characters, you could just sit down and have a meal with and just chat away to them. And yeah, they feel like a real person, like someone I could bump into in the streets. He has written them so wonderfully. I also really enjoyed the plot, slightly ridiculous though it was. So the premise of the book is essentially a bank robber goes in to rob a bank, accidentally picks the wrong bank, picks a cashless bank, panics, runs out onto the street, sees what they think is a policeman, then run into the nearest building, upstairs just to the nearest open door, and that happens to be a house viewing that's going on. And so our poor misguided bank robber accidentally takes a bunch of hostages. And it just all evolves from there. From there, we find out more about the bank robber. We find out more about the people in the viewing, what's happening in their lives. We find out what's happening with the police officers, who are absolutely adorable. They're a little father-son duo, and even their problems just feel. He's just. Fredrick Backman is wonderful. I'm giving you guys this review, but mostly I just want to say I'm absolutely speechless about this author. He's just totally hit out of the park again, almost. But yeah, basically, as we start off with the bank robbery and the hostage situation has already happened. The book it almost follows 2 timelines. We flip back and forth. So we start in the police station. The suspects, the victims are being interviewed to try and figure out what's happened, because once the hostages have been released, they hear a gunshot, they go up, they can't find the bank robber, but there's blood everywhere, and they found the gun. So there's this. We think at this point that possibly the bank robber is really like mortally, gravely injured. So there's this rush to find him, and the hostages, are not quite cooperating. They're asking him all the questions, and they're just not really wanting to be like, oh yeah, this was the description. They're not really giving a description. They're very much playing the ignorance, playing the, oh, I'm in shock, I don't know what's happening card. To the point you're starting to get a bit suspicious. You're like, well, are you guys sticking up for someone who's just held you hostage? That's interesting. The plot is, it's a bit far-fetched. But sorry, no, I was talking about how the time it skips. See, I'm, even 3 days later, my brain is still an absolute jumble about this book because it's amazing. So I'll give you a hint, I'm giving it a lot of stars. But yeah, so if you start off in there, but we also hop back to in the apartment with the bank robber, and so whilst everyone's being held hostage, we're getting to know them. We're getting to know all their fears, their hopes for the future, what they've been through. We actually came across, there was a phrase he wrote where we're learning about Estelle, who's one of the hostages, about sort of like what she's been through and why she's there at the viewing, because everyone's at the viewing for different reasons. They're not all there just to try and buy an apartment, which in itself is beautiful. I think all their different reasons are just, he writes beautiful, beautiful characters. I'm just constantly going to go back to the characters because it is the absolute highlight of these books. But he also, whilst we're learning about this Estelle, he wrote a phrase where she refers to her husband as her echo, and without him, because he has since passed, but she says that he was her echo, and without him, life is just so much quieter, almost too quiet. And I just thought that was beautiful, because as well as excellent characters, Fredrick Backman he just has such a way with words. Now, I normally read for escapism, but there was nothing escapism about this book. This was a very real obviously it's fiction, but it felt like it was a very real situation. As ridiculous as the plot and situation could be, he's written it in such a way that I genuinely believe that this could happen, and chances are this has happened somewhere. I'm sorry, I wish this review was a bit more structured, but it is. I'm going to stick to the title, the name of my channel, which is Amy's Rambles, and I'm just rambling. This is what he does to me. Yeah, he's just, the prose, the writing style is brilliant. He does write in that it's third person. He writes it where the narrator often refers to you, the reader, or how do you describe it? The narrator is definitely telling the story to you. You'll say something like, this happened, this is how they are. Of course, you wouldn't react that way, but this is what happened. So it is very much, it feels like you're being told the story, like sitting at dinner with someone who's just been in this crazy situation, and they're like, oh yeah, this was happened and this happened. I mean, obviously, like, normal people wouldn't do this, but mind blown. And he pulled that off really well. Sometimes with this writing style can jar me out of the story, but they really didn't. I think it almost adds to it. There's the tone. It's not a grave, serious tone he takes with it. It's almost lighthearted and disbelieving, a tone that he takes that is just, yeah, it was really well done. I do have one negative about the book, and that is the ending. Now, the actual ending and how everything was resolved, I was really, really happy with. But Fredrick Backman, he didn't do this with a man called Uwe, and I'm curious if it's just this book he's done it with, and I'll get to why I think it might be this. But he's dragged it out. He tied up every loose end. By the end of the book, anything that had been mentioned previously, that was still unresolved previously, is resolved by the end. All of his ties are cleaned up. Sorry if you can hear scratching, it's the cat. No, she doesn't want to say hi. But yeah, he tidies it all up so incredibly well and neatly that it almost, I'm not gonna lie, it knocked half a star off for me. I almost gave this book 5 stars, but I'm only giving it 4.5 because of the ending. There's about 4 or 5 chapters that are the ending, the conclusion, the wrapping up, that could easily have been 2 chapters. The first of the sort of, like, shall we call them the wrap-up chapters, was done so well. It was brilliant. It was like we got into this end of the movie, or sort of like the end of like a reality show or something, and it's, you know, when you get the credits of like, and so and so went on to do this, and so went on to do that, and it's just like this brief snapshot of what's happening to give you that resolution. It read like that. It was like, and Estelle went on to do this, and the bank robber XYZ, and Zara did this, and all of this. And you think, oh, that's really nice. That's a really nice, neat ending. Yeah, I like this. But I'm reading this on my Kindle and there's still 6% left. Now, I know that 6% is not all acknowledgements, So you keep going and you're reading and you're reading, and it's just another chapter of tying up this loose end, and another chapter of tying up this loose end, and another chapter of tying up this loose end. So we've gone from a very brilliantly written human piece of work to the ending that is so neatly tied up that it just doesn't, it lost a bit of its humanity in the end, I think. But I can understand why. I do. I love reading at the end of the books. I love reading sort of like the acknowledgements, and sort of like all the thanks to this person, they really helped with that, and this person. And I did it again with Anxious People, and the very first acknowledgement thank is to a friend of the author's who had passed away, and the author basically apologizes for not being able to save them. So I suspect that this book was written not to rewrite history, but so that the author could tell the story and end the story, I think possibly in the way he wishes his friend's story had gone. So it's not wish fulfillment, but it's definitely some kind of like personal fulfillment novel here. Because as we are learning about the characters, there is a lot of messiness in there. There are themes of suicide, self-doubt, self-worth, but predominantly one of the biggest themes throughout this book is suicide and sort of desperation, and people just being at the end of their rope and going, I don't know what else to do. I'm strung out, I'm tired, there's like, what else can I do? Like, what is the point anymore? Why am I even here? It's a beautifully written book. And yeah, I can understand why we got everything so neatly wrapped up. From a personal reader point of view, I just wish he didn't drag it out and wrap it up the way he did. If you want to wrap it up all very neatly, that's great. But we went from a relatively quick-paced book, like it never once felt like it was dragging right until the end, and then it just slowed right down, and we're tying literally every loose thread up. Loose threads that, to be honest, if you hadn't tied up, I wouldn't have noticed. So that was, I was massively enjoying this book right up until the end. That said, will I read this book again? Yes, I will read this book again. I want to get through the rest of his work first, but I can see Backman being a reread author. No problem whatsoever. Am I going to recommend this book to everybody? Yeah. I already have started being like, oh my god, this is a really good book, you should read this book. It's not going to make you cry the way A Man Called Ove did, but it is very heartwarming. I love the way the characters all came together. There is found family tropes throughout it. And just like saving yourself and doing what you have to, and just the sense that you don't have to be alone. There is a community around you, and that community can be your family, which is a beautiful, beautiful sentiment. And just accepting help and knowing that it's okay to accept help. So I'm recommending this book to everybody because I think there is something in there for everybody. However, I don't think it will suit everybody. I think everybody should give it a try. I'm not expecting everybody to finish it. And that's its whole other controversial tweeting, isn't it? But I think the writing style, if you're not overly keen on the narrator addressing you as the reader, you might struggle with this a bit. Like I say, it's got darker themes through it, so if you're looking for just a happy cozy Sunday read, this is probably not the book. That said, it's not written in a way that it's so dark and dreary and is really going to get you down. By the end of it, I felt warm and fuzzy and just really happy that everything had come together. And it is taken in almost, it's not jovial. Cat's just jumping. My lighting's going to go all awkward because the cat's now in front of the window. But no, I'm recommending it to everybody. If you're in a really dark, depressed mood, maybe don't read it. but then maybe read it because it is uplifting despite its darkness. Yeah, I've rambled on enough now, I think. And I'm not sure how much sense this review is making. It's certainly not coherent, and I do apologise for that. So if you've made it this far, well done. Go make yourself a cup of tea, because you deserve it. So yeah, as I said, I've spoiled myself previously, but I'm going to give it 4.5 stars. The ending annoyed me. The pacing of the ending annoyed me enough to knock half a star off. Otherwise, it would have been straight up 5 stars. So yeah, 4.5 stars. Highly recommend reading it. I think at this point, I just highly recommend reading Fredrick Backman. I am excited to read some more of his. Probably won't read anything else this month by him, but certainly by the end of the year, I can see myself reading at least one or two more. But yeah. If you've made it this far, then please hit that little like button. If you want to subscribe, absolutely go for it. I'm not going to complain. I hope you liked it. I hope this has helped you make up your mind whether or not you want to read Anxious People. And I will hopefully see you all in the next video. Bye!